interesting times for Nigerians and then, of course, politicians alone. We've seen a situation whereby it's pretty difficult for those in the opposition to be able to unite together. And this will just take us back to what happened in 2023. Where we had, divided votes by the opposition. And I mean, a whole lot of Nigerians will actually be pained because there have been efforts to actually bring all these people together. And for the first time, it looked like they were making some progress when the likes of Salihu Lukman, the former APC National Vice Chairman for the Northwest, who had defected to the ADC, started from 2024 galvanizing all these people, trying to bring them together and see how, they could present a united front. Because if you take a critical look at the figures from 2023, you discover that by the time you add Obi's vote, you add Kwankwanso's vote, and of course Atiku's vote, it was a clear win for the opposition. But President Tinubu will actually be laughing right now because, I mean, they've actually played into his hands. But look at the realities that have led to this. And then let's take a look at how it's going to be in 2027. What are the existing realities for Obi to have taken this decision? The fact that we have an INEC timetable that they will have to catch up with. And then the fact that the ADC has a whole lot of problems. The state chairman had taken the ADC current leadership under David Mark to court, and they have an existing judgment. But the good thing about that is that they have some time to be able to stay till they exhaust their tenure, and then that's why the ADC will then go ahead and issue a statement saying that the newly elected state chairmen that were, that emerged as a result of that Congress will not be sworn in until after May 12th. And then you take a look at some of the issues that we still have. The Supreme Court judgment was very clear in stating that they should go back to the Federal High Court. And a whole lot of people have been questioning why David Mark's leadership has not provided the sort of political leadership that was needed at the time. Getting good legal briefs and then going ahead to tackle the issues as they are. So they allowed this issue of Nafiu Bala to just be pushed aside for too long. And when the cases were brought in court, come around and face the issues, they said no. They were more interested in the issue of the interlocutory injunction that was being sought, which eventually led to the Court of Appeal and then the Supreme Court. But just before we come back to the issues, Nigerians should be outraged at why the Court of Appeal had to give a prayer that no one asked for. And I'm thinking that the National Judicial Council should be taking an interest in what really happened, that the Court of Appeal will go ahead and grant a prayer that nobody asked of, this status quo antebellum, which led us to where we are. And then take a look at all the reliefs that were sought. There were about 7 of them. The Supreme Court only granted 1. But then I spoke with a whole lot of leaders in the ADC, and they told me that the other 6 were just actual decoys. And then the idea was to actually set that aside. But if they had followed up those cases critically from the beginning, maybe the High Court would have even, done away with this issue. Because it was just a case whereby you're supposed to come around and say whether this case should be heard or not. But then you go on appeal and so on. So, in a nutshell, the ADC itself has itself to blame. And then you come to the other reality. Obi, Kwankwanso, and Atiku in the same political family. What will be the outcome? The most experienced politician will always have his way. And the most experienced politician in this instance seems to be Atiku Abubakar. But if you go back to the APC primaries in 2014, you will see that Kwankwanso came second when Buhari came first. And then, of course, all others followed. Atiku came third and all of that. But in terms of galvanizing ADC, you will see that the person who has been very consistent in mobilizing people, mobilizing a whole lot of Nigerians to register in the ADC, is more of Atiku Abubakar, providing even the space for the party to fully take off after it had been taken over. Now, if you were Peter Obi, you would do an intelligence analysis, and the intelligence analysis will show you how many members have been registered in the ADC during the registration process. And that intelligence analysis will reveal to you that there are more lower numbers of people who actually registered to be members of the ADC in the Southeast. Sure. And if that's the case, if you are to go into primaries and you're canvassing consensus, and it doesn't seem like that consensus is going to come towards you, then you look at the possibility of holding a direct primaries. Then, of course, you use that intelligence information that you have to juxtapose it with the existing realities. And the realities will show you that even if Atiku Abubakar's vote, the registered number of ADC in Adamawa State alone are more than the entire registered number of ADC members in the Southeast. And then you bring other northern states together. Of course, you will know clearly that if you go through direct primaries, you won't win. So what's the easiest way out? It's for you to latch on the Supreme Court judgment. I said, because the coast is not clear, you would need to go to another party, and that's what Obi has just done, skillfully living. But let's take a look at Obi's political career. Obi has not been someone who has faced a major national political primary before. The first time he was supposed to do that majorly was in 2022, and of course, the likes of late Chukwuemeka Ezefi, former governor of Anambra State, and some other elder statesmen talked him out, because on the day that Atiku launched his presidential bid in 2022, I was there and I saw Obi there. In fact, I was the first person who interviewed him, and I was like, people have been calling on you from the Southeast to come and contest. How come you're here? He said he's here to honor his senior brother and all of that. But then when he saw that the political realities did not favor him then, and then it would be difficult for him to win a party primary in the PDP where you had the likes of Nyesom Wike pulling strong from all the southern aspirants, of course he took the easy way out. And then when he went to the Labour Party, of course there were other contestants who were already there, people like Party Tomi and all of that. But then he got an easy way out and he got the ticket. So taking a look at from 2001 to 2002, when he was in the PDP, he eventually left and joined APGA, latching on the wings of late Chief Chukwuemeka Adumego Ojukwu, and eventually he would then go ahead and get the ticket. But of course, what happened in 2003 happened, and the court brought him. And of course, as a governor, you have first right of refusal. So he didn't face any major primary then. Then going ahead to 2022, no major primary, and then becoming Labour Party candidate, no major primary. And then this is the first time that we're supposed to, interrogate the political credentials of Peter Obi as a national political figure in African Democratic Congress. But unfortunately, with these existing realities, you've seen him going away. So there's always been this talk, and you will see that the Governing All Progressives Congress are taking advantage to say that Peter Obi is a migrant politician. He's always afraid of standing to fight for ticket. But what does fighting for ticket actually mean? It does a whole lot of good for you. Even if you come second, like Kwankwaso came second in 2014, it gives you the capacity to be able to measure your political goodwill among voters and then watch the temperament ahead of the next election. Now, we cannot fully measure Peter Obi's political credentials going into ADC at the moment because of that challenge. But going into 2027, which is the major reason why we're having this discourse, Obi's move is going to cause a whole lot of uproar, including eating into some gains that President Tinubu had made, for example, in the Southeast. Because the thinking had been within the Tinubu political camp that the Atiku-Obi ticket may likely still fly. And if it does, they'll be able to curtail the votes that will come out from the Southeast. But in this instance now, the Southeast, though President Tinubu has made some effort through the governors and all of that, the votes of the APC will be eaten too. Again, because Obi is on the ticket. And this time around, Kwankwaso too in Kano is going to make a headway in the sense that they will eat into some of the votes that APC is going to get there because of the cult followership he enjoys and all of that. And you take a look at this South-South too. The national leader of the NDC, Senator Seriake Dixon, is a figure you can't push away in South-South politics, especially Bayelsa. So watch out for Bayelsa and Delta. And including a little part of Ondo, where you have a whole lot of Ijos and all of that, because he enjoys a whole lot of support from them. And then you will see that Peter Obi's entry into this party with these leaders would actually create a sort of storm. And then look at Atiku's hometown, Atiku's home state of Adamawa. You see the likes of Binani, people like Binani who have moved out and joined the NDC. She has a whole lot of following. So it's going to be a very difficult time ahead. But for ADC, it also means that Atiku Abubakar's strategy has to change. And what we hear is that he's trying to team up with Rotimi Amechi so that they will have a strong play. If Amechi does come into the game, of course, the politics of Rivers will change. And then you'll see that they will earn some voters. And it's going to be a tough call, but 2023 is right here before us. And it's unfortunate because the strongest opposition to APC would have been a galvanized opposition. Yeah.